Welcome to another edition of Coffee with the Goose, where we talk about things that are interesting, fascinating, and irritating. I try to be all three. Yeah, see, I'm a juggler too. I'm the Goose. So glad you joined me. Got another interesting show to come. A topic you probably haven't heard about, even though it's not really news, but it's interesting anyhow. We'll get into it here in a second. I know, Jude, I got to drink my coffee. So somebody's got to keep it. It's nice to have adult supervision. You know what I mean? Raquel's not here, so Jude takes her place. My coffee, very strong, like my opinion, and got some creamer in there to make it sweet, just like me. All right, let's talk about basketball and Manny Pacquiao, the great boxer. But we're not going to talk about Pacquiao as a basketball player, although he's a pretty good basketball player. We've seen that. He's played in, I don't know if it's a professional league, but he has played some pretty good competition in the Philippines, and he's done very well. But this is a little different. Manny Pacquiao has started his own league, and it is the MPBL. I think it's the Manila League, I'm pretty sure. You got too many letters in here for me. It is the Maharlika Filipinas Basketball League. Okay, there, I knew that. Now, what Pacquiao did, this is so funny. It's funny, but it's serious at the same time. Pacquiao is a very respectful guy who plays by the rules. And listen up, all you people who say, oh, he's juicing, he's on PEDs. That's BS. He never has, never tested for any kind of PEDs. He's legit all the way in boxing. And he demands the same of his basketball players. And he reminds me of what he just recently did of the old Black Sox scandal. That phrase ring a bell? No? Well, I'll refresh your memory, even though it's, my goodness, it's 100 years ago now. I just realized that. 100 years ago, when the real punishment came down. I'm a big baseball fan. In the 1919 World Series, the Chicago White Sox were playing, I believe, the Cincinnati Reds, the Red Stockings. And the White Sox were a great team. I think they were, they had won the World Series a couple of years earlier, but they were the best. There's no question. And they threw the World Series to the other team. Why? Well, you know, I'm not in favor of cheating by any stretch because there's gambling and all kinds of illegalities involved, but they just weren't being paid. They weren't being paid the money they deserved, and they decided to go down the bad road just to make more money. And if memory serves me correctly, there's a movie about this. I think it's called 8 Men Out or something of that nature. 8 of their players were not just suspended, but they were banished from the major leagues for life. Okay. The gentleman, the commissioner who dropped the hammer on them was a guy by the name of Judge Kennesaw Mountain Landis. And if you look him up on YouTube or elsewhere, you see his face. He's always got this scowl on his face. Well, he took over the major leagues at a crucial time and righted the ship and banished all these players. Some of them, I think 3 of them, weren't guilty at all. They decided initially to take part in the cheating, the throwing of the World Series, but they, in the end, didn't do it. But they were banished anyhow. One of them was one of the greatest baseball players ever, Shoeless Joe Jackson, a great player. And, you know, as he was one of the famous sayings, whether or not this actually happened, but legend has it, as he was walking into the courthouse, one of the young kids, baseball fans said, "Say it ain't so, Joe, say it ain't so." Well, it was so. Kennesaw Mountain Landis was not to be trifled with, and he dropped the hammer. And you know what? Manny Pacquiao did the same thing because he found out there were some, naughty players on one team in particular, and he just fired the whole team. He didn't play around. He says they were all in on it, and they probably were. He said that he had to take drastic actions to protect the integrity of the league, and good for him. He says he knows the names of those involved in the game fixing, and he would release their names in due time. That hasn't happened yet, not that I know of. Now, he also said he took over the management of the team to do some house cleaning, and instead he just decided to dissolve the team. You're all done. Get out of here. I can't have this. Because his respect was on the line. His name was on the line. You just can't have any of that. And he also said, this is what reminded me of Judge Kennesaw Mountain Landis. He said, those who have nothing to do with it will be spared. Spared. That's a scary word that only very powerful people, like God uses. I'll spare you, child. Go and sin no more. But Pacquiao is deadly serious. He started this league or this team, and you just can't have that. How does a team, what can a team or a player do to fix a game? And when I say fix a game, it's for gambling, okay? I'll give you several examples. The first is the obvious one, winning or losing. People bet on your team to win or to lose, whatever. And big money is on the line. And, gambling used to be very nefarious, under the table criminal activity. And now it's not. You can gamble anywhere. But winning or losing is the first and obvious way of fixing a game. But there are others. One is the score. How much the playing with the numbers. The phrase escapes me right now. I'm sorry, but the over/under. Okay, how many points will be scored by both teams? Is it over or under that amount that the casino says it'll be, and you bet on that? How much you win or lose by? How many points? How many points you score? How many by halftime? How many each quarter? There's a million different ways to throw a game and get in with the gambling crowd. And I don't know specifically what these players did in Pacquiao's team, but they were caught. And, the more people get involved with something, the easier it is to catch them. And the harder it is to hide, We've seen examples of this where they haven't been caught. I mean, the fix was in on many sports activities I've seen. We've seen it in boxing. These judges, we've seen it on many occasions. I've seen it in NBA basketball. I've seen the Lakers and the Sacramento Kings. I'm going back about 20 years, but Sacramento Kings, who are now, are they still in Sacramento? Where are they? They just had it stolen from them. The Western Conference champion. They just handed it to the Lakers. It was so obvious, but they didn't do anything. The league was in on the fix. How's that? Sometimes it's so obvious that people are fixing a game or a series or the score or what have you. Sometimes the good ones can do it in subtle ways. But apparently, Manny Pacquiao's basketball team, try as they might, they got caught. And so, good for you, Manny Pacquiao. You stood up for respect. You stood up for the fans, and you did what was necessary. It seemed kind of harsh, but sometimes justice is harsh. You have to, you just can't go halfway with some of this stuff. Look at the president of the Philippines. Look at Rodrigo Duterte and his battle against drugs. Can't do it halfway. Got to go full bore. And that's what he's doing. And obviously a lesser, not so serious way. Manny Pacquiao is doing the same thing with his basketball team. He dropped the hammer and said, "You boys are done. It's just over with." So hopefully we'll get a little more information for those of you who are interested and want to know more. But I could personally, I don't want to know more. I just like the way it ended right there. And I for one, and I know many others, respect Pacquiao not just because of his ability in the ring, but how he lives his life, and he does it as a man with honor and respect. So he showed it again. If if you're going to fight Manny Pacquiao, beware. He doesn't play around. And if you play basketball for him, beware. He doesn't play around there either. So good for him, and good for basketball in the Philippines. And hopefully we'll hear who Pacquiao's next opponent will be very, very soon. He's scheduled to fight again in March or April. We will give you all the latest here on this show. Thanks for watching again, Coffee with the Goose. So glad you join us on a regular basis, and we are forever indebted to you folks who subscribe. The number just keeps growing. We're very, very thankful. Thanks again. We'll talk to you next time. Take care.